Okay, council, we're ready to proceed then in the matter Richards v. Richards. The first thing we need to do then would be to swear in the interpreters. Where are my interpreters?
Your Honor, we're right here.
Right. I'd like to administer the oath if you would all raise your right hands.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Mr. McCombs and I, you'll have the oath for us first.
Yes,
And then we will then interpret for our colleague.
Certainly. All right. Who's first? Sorry.
The two of us.
The two of you.
Yes.
All right, then. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully interpret the American Sign Language into the English language into American Sign Language, to the best of your knowledge and ability, all of the proceedings before this court in an accurate manner, to the best of your skill and knowledge?
I do.
All right. And could we have the interpreter state their name for the record so we know which ones were just sworn?
Lawana Clark.
And Posh McCombs.
Very good. And the remaining interpreter, would you please state your name?
Stephanie Clark.
Very good. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully interpret the American Sign Language into English and English into American Sign Language to the best of your ability, all of the proceedings before this court in an accurate manner, to the best of your skill and knowledge?
I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. And we're ready to proceed then. Mr. Smith, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, I would
Your Honor,
call the
before-
petitioner.
One
Mrs.
moment. Is the interpreter?
Your Honor, before we proceed, the interpreters have a couple of disclosures to make.
All right. Before you make each disclosure, if you would, for the record, state your name first, so we know if it's in a typewritten form, who is speaking. Please proceed.
Lawana Clark. Would like to make a disclosure that I know both the mother and the father through community events. I do not feel like that knowledge or my relationship with them in the community will have any bearing on my ability to remain neutral in this proceeding.
Very well. Any other disclosures that need to be made?
Yes. And Your Honor, I'm Stephanie Clark. For a disclosure to let you know that Ms. Clark and myself, we interpreted for the GAL meeting with Sarah Richards, and today we are here as proceedings interpreter, even though we interpreted for their private meetings. So we have previous contact.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, on behalf of your client, do you have any objection to the interpreters helping us today with this matter?
No, Your
On
Honor.
behalf of your client.
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Smith,
Petitioner has no
anything as
objection.
far as your client?
No objection.
All right. Very well, then we shall proceed. Mr. Smith, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, I would call the petitioner, Mrs. Barbara Richards, to the stand.
Ms. Richards, please come forward. Ms. Richards, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear, under penalty of perjury, that the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated. Is this a good spot for the interpreters where they are located? Can your client see the interpreters?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is
Very
good for the interpreters and for the deaf individuals in the courtroom. Thank you.
All right, if at any time this changes, I want you to speak up immediately so we can fix it.
Shall I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Smith, please proceed.
You state your full name for the record.
Barbara Ann Richards.
And where do you reside?
at 15929 West 60th Circle in Golden, 80403.
And are you deaf?
Yes,
How long have you been deaf?
since the age of 12 when I had meningitis.
Can you understand me and the questions I'm asking you through the interpreters?
Yes, I can.
And what is your age?
35,
How old is your husband?
37.
Is your husband also deaf?
Yes, he is.
Were there any children born of this marriage?
Yes, we have one child.
And would you state the name and age of this child?
Sarah Margaret, and she's 12.
And does she reside in the home?
Yes,
Is Sarah deaf?
yes.
For how long?
Since birth,
And at the present time, both of you and your husband are also still residing in the house?
yes, we do live in the same house.
Please tell the court about your educational background.
I went to a mainstream school instead of a deaf school. The name of the school is the St. John's Catholic High School. After graduating from there, I went to Gallaudet University and graduated there in 1989.
And is Gallaudet a school for the deaf?
Yes, in fact, it's the only liberal arts deaf school in the world.
And what was your major in college?
Elementary education.
When were you married?
1989.
Where were you married?
Denver, Colorado.
Now, you filed an application with this court for custody of your child. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Now, in the event the court grants you custody, where would you live with your child?
I would be willing to live in Denver or in a suburb of Denver so that we're close to where her friends are and people that she knows.
And if the court so grants, would you wish to live in the same home that you're at now with the child?
I don't mind staying in the home that we're in now because Sarah already has friends in the neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood to be in, and it's a good neighborhood for her to grow up in.
Would you describe that house to the court?
It's a nice area We live in a 3-bedroom ranch.
And how many bedrooms did you say?
3.
Are there any other rooms besides the bedrooms?
Yes, we have a kitchen, a family room, a living room, and in the basement is like a rec room where Sarah can play with her friends. I think it's a good opportunity for her just to have her own space in our house.
And would you say that Sarah's happy living in that home?
Yes, she's very happy there.
Describe for the court the neighborhood in which you live.
As I've mentioned, it's a very nice area. We actually live on a cul-de-sac, which means that there's less traffic in and around our home, so it's safe for her. Sarah has been there since she was born, so she's grown up with the kids in the neighborhood. They're all friends. It's a great place for her to grow up.
Are you happy living there also?
Yes, I am.
And are you employed at the present time?
Yes, I have a job at the Ralston Elementary School where I teach the deaf and hard of hearing students.
And what time do you leave for work in the morning?
I typically leave between 8 to 8:15.
How many days a week do you teach at the school?
5 days a week.
What time do you generally leave to come home?
School finishes around 3:10. I close up and everything. I usually am out of there for no later than 4 o'clock.
And how does that coordinate with Sarah leaving to go to school in the morning?
I leave first, and then Sarah is there with my husband. She leaves for school around 8:45 because her school starts at 9 o'clock. She attends the Rocky Mountain Deaf School in Golden. She's at school until about 3:15, gets home around 3:30 when she's home alone.
And you arrive at the end of the day?
Could you ask your question again,
Yes.
please?
Let me rephrase that. About what time do you get home?
At the latest, I'm home by 4. I get there early enough in the afternoon so I can prepare dinner, do other things around the house. So I have dinner ready for her.
Now, how would you handle the situation in the event that the court grants you custody?
Our schedule would be pretty much the same as it is now. I would leave and she would be home alone for a few minutes before she goes to school, and then she would get home about half an hour before I would get home. My neighbor could come over, or she could go over there during those times so that she wouldn't be alone.
And at the present time, you've indicated, as far as the end of the day is concerned, that's how it's handled?
No, right now my husband is still in the home, and so he takes her to school or gets her off to school.
Now this neighbor, that's a friend of yours, I assume?
Yes.
And she comes in and takes care of Sarah for about a half hour.
Yes. Yes,
But
she
in-
does.
But in the morning, at the present time, the neighbor does not come in. Is that a fact?
That is correct. She does not come over in the mornings.
And how is that handled at the present time?
Well, right now my husband is still there, so he takes care of all of those morning activities.
Now, do you have any flexibility in terms of your teaching in the event that the child became ill, or if you have to be home with her for a day for any particular reason?
Yes, in fact, when I was hired, I negotiated the opportunity to be flexible so that if my daughter was sick or anything, I could leave because I want to make sure I'm there for her.
Now, who prepares the meals in your home?
I do.
And how many meals a day does Sarah have at home?
Typically, she eats at home twice a day and then lunch at school. But she likes to take her lunch from home to school. She likes eating food from the house. So I make lunch for her that she takes to school.
Now, what types of meals does Sarah have for breakfast?
She eats anything from cereal, pancakes, French toast. I cook everything while she's getting ready for school, and then I put it in the oven so it stays warm for her so that when I go off to work, then she comes and gets the breakfast and eats it.
Now, who actually makes the meal again?
I do.
Okay, so you set it up, and then does she just serve herself?
No, my husband is still at home, so he helps her in the morning.
Now, how about dinner?
Typically, I prepare dinner.
And about what time do you generally have dinner?
Generally between 5:30 and 6.
And does your husband come home for dinner?
Most of the time he does.
So the three of you generally have dinner together, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, in general, what kinds of dinners are usually served in the home?
Generally meat, vegetable, and potatoes.
And does Sarah like those kinds of foods?
Yes, she does.
And who does the shopping for the food?
I do. I do the shopping for the household.
And where do you do this shopping?
There's a Safeway near our home that I usually always go to, although there are other shopping centers in our neighborhood, but I like to go to the Safeway.
Now, well, let me ask you this. Does your husband ever shop for food for the dinner table?
Generally, if there's something that we need that we don't have at home, then he'll pick it up. But really, usually I just go pick it up myself.
And Sarah's table manners, how would you describe them?
Well, I think she has typical table manners for a child her age. I think she has good table manners. I still continue to teach her, and I expect that she will have much better table manners as she continues to learn.
Now, on the weekends, does Sarah ever eat out? Any other meals?
Sometimes Sarah will go out and eat with her friends, or sometimes I'll take her out for hamburger or pizza. But generally, we just eat at home.
And how would you describe Sarah as to cleanliness?
I think typically Sarah is clean. She bathes 3 or 4 times a week. She keeps her room clean.
And how do you know she showers 3 or 4 times a week?
Because I'm there with her. Whether it's late at night or early in the morning, I'm there with her.
Now, a somewhat delicate question. How would you describe her bedroom?
Well, she is a child. I think her bedroom is typical. She does make the bed. I help her pick up her clothes. She does have a tendency to put her dirty clothes on the floor so they pile up, but I help her to make sure she keeps her room cleaned up.
And are you more or less comfortable with the way she keeps her bedroom?
Yes, I am.
And your husband, is he comfortable with the way Sarah keeps her bedroom?
I don't think that he typically goes into her bedroom, but I would imagine that we share the opinion that she keeps her bedroom picked up most of the time.
Well, he's never complained to you about the situation, has he?
No, he has not.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention, Ms. Richards, to the child's medical situation. Does Sarah have a pediatrician or a doctor?
Yes, she does.
And what is this doctor's name?
His name is Dr. Oscar Windler.
And where is this doctor's office located?
He's in the Golden Medical Building at 104th and Hayes.
And who takes Sarah to the doctor when she has to go to the doctor?
I do.
And do you know this doctor personally?
I know him well enough to be comfortable with him and have conversations about my daughter with him.
So you know him as your daughter's doctor.
Yes, that's right.
Now let me ask you this. How do you and Sarah communicate with the doctor?
Through an interpreter. I make a request through Purple Communication Services so that an interpreter will be available at the doctor's office.
And could you take just a rough guess as to how many times you've been to that doctor's office with Sarah over these years?
I'm going to guess roughly 50 times.
And has your husband ever been to the doctor's office?
No, he typically doesn't take her.
Please tell the court, does Sarah have any special medical problems?
Yes, she has some problems with her eyes. We're now going to see a doctor at the UC Medical Center to try to figure out what's going on.
And there's no projection of this eye problem being anything particularly serious that cannot be cured?
I really don't know about that. We're still trying to figure out what's going on.
Now, does Sarah go for regular dental checkups?
Yes, she goes 2 times a year.
And who takes her?
I do.
Does Sarah have any prescriptions that she's taking at the present time?
Not right now, but when she's sick, she typically takes an antibiotic.
Okay, so she has taken some over the past years?
Yes, she has.
And you would give her medicine when she needed it?
Yes, I typically give the medicine to her because I keep track of the schedule that she's on for the medication.
Now, Ms. Richards, how do you order these prescriptions?
I place a call to order the prescription through the video relay service and then go pick up the medication and I have it at home and give it to her.
Now, VRS, can you explain what this service is?
Yes, video relay service is a technology that is a computer-based video phone software. So I make a call, I can visually see the interpreter on my screen, who then is like the third party, and then calls the person that I want to talk to. For example, if I'm going to order medication, I call them, the interpreter interprets my conversation, and that's how I place the order. I'm also a trainer, so then I can help people understand how to place calls for emergencies. One moment.
We need to correct that. I also trained my daughter, Sarah, to know how to use VRS, so in 911 emergency, she can use it.
The interpreter needs to make a correction to the last interpretation. That I also train my daughter to use the video phone if she has an emergency so she can call 911.
So noted.
So you have taught Sarah how to use this service in case of an emergency, correct?
Yes, I have. She knows how to reach me or a member of the family.
All right. Now, during the past several years, has Sarah been ill enough that she's had to stay home for several days?
Yes, and I stayed home with her. I had a substitute take over my responsibilities at the school.
Okay. Did that in any way create any problems with your employment?
No, not at all.
All right, clothing. Who does the purchasing of the clothing for Sarah?
I do. I usually take her to go shopping.
And where do you take her?
A number of places. We've gone to Kohl's, Macy's, J.C. Penney's, Old Navy, any other place that she might be interested in looking for clothes.
And if I were to ask you specifically the precise sizes that Sarah wears at the present time, would you be able to tell the court what those sizes are?
Yes.
Now, if I were to ask your husband at this moment the same question, would he know, as far as you know, the sizes of Sarah's clothing?
Your Honor, I object. That's highly speculative.
Overruled. You may answer if you know.
Because he doesn't typically take, and he doesn't take her shopping, I would guess that he doesn't know her sizes.
And who does the laundry, mending, and sewing?
I typically do that.
As to her education, what school does Sarah attend at the present time?
She attends the Rocky Mountain Deaf School in Golden, which is a bilingual, bicultural magnet program in Jefferson County.
And what grade is she in?
6th.
And have you visited the school?
Yes, I have.
Often?
Fairly often.
And do you ever meet with the teachers?
Yes, I go to the school when I have meetings with the teachers or other times.
And is Sarah having any particular problems outside of whatever the normal situation might be?
Not that I'm aware of.
And how is she doing grade-wise in school?
She does really well in school.
Does she like her school?
She loves her school.
And does she like her classmates?
Yes, I believe she obviously loves her classmates because she brings them home. They play at the house.
And does she like her teachers?
I don't know if she necessarily cares about her teacher, but she does appreciate the fact that she can have direct communication in American Sign Language with all of them. And so she enjoys that part of school and the teachers.
And does Sarah have homework?
Yes, she does.
And you work with Sarah on her homework?
Both my husband and I help her with her homework.
Objection, Your Honor. Please direct the witness to respond to the question.
It seems like she did respond to the question. I'm sorry. Could you ask the question again, Mr. Smith?
Yes. Who works with the child on her homework?
I do.
Okay. And with reference to any other intellectual activities, do either you or your husband ever read to her?
When she was younger, I read a lot to her. But as she's growing up, she's taking more of an interest in poems, and so she likes to read poems now.
And how about going to museums, theaters, children's plays, anything like that?
Yes, in fact, she's gone to the museum on a school field trip, so she likes those kind of activities.
And how about television?
No, she doesn't like TV. I would actually, one moment. I would actually prefer that she not watch TV and go outside and play, or if she's going to be in the house, to do something on the iPad.
And what's your husband's position with reference to television?
He and I are on the same page around the television. Neither one of us encourage her to watch it.
And what about Sarah's involvement in any religious instruction?
She does enjoy going to Sunday school and church.
Do you and your husband agree on Sarah's religious training?
Well, Sarah would prefer that we go to the church as a family, but that doesn't always happen. It's really hard for her father to get up early on Sunday mornings to go, and so typically it's just Sarah and I that go.
And does Sarah have birthday parties?
Yes, she does. She likes having birthday parties.
And who sets these parties up?
I do.
And describe for us the last birthday party.
Her last birthday party, she had 7 friends from school come over, plus neighborhood friends. We had the typical cake and games. The kids had fun. I believe Sarah really enjoyed that day.
And Mrs. Richards, what is the state of your health?
I'm healthy.
And what is the state of your husband's health, as far as you know?
I think he's also in good health.
And do you have any particular kinds of talents of your own?
Well, I have a degree in education, and I love children. I love encouraging them to learn, and I love being around them.
If I were to ask you, would you be able to describe in detail a typical weekday of you, your husband, and your child from the moment that the first person in the household gets up until the end of the day when the last person goes to sleep?
Yes, I can tell you all those details.
Okay, and if I were able to ask you the question and you have time, would you be able to describe and testify again in detail a typical weekend day, Saturday and or Sunday, from the time the first person wakes up in the morning until the last person would go to sleep at the end of the evening?
Yes, I could do that.
Now, Ms. Richards, there was an allegation made by your husband that you had a serious drinking problem. Are you aware of the allegation?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Now, would you tell the court about this situation?
Well, in the past, I do admit to having a drinking problem. It was because I was stressed. My husband was very critical of me. He was very critical of Sarah. I just couldn't handle all the stuff that was going on. But I've been sober for the last 12 months.
Ms. Richards, does Sarah love her father?
Oh, yes, she does, definitely, most definitely.
How would you describe her relationship with her father?
That's very good. I think they have a very good father-daughter relationship.
And what kind of relationship do you have with Sarah?
I feel like my relationship with Sarah is closer than Sarah's relationship with her father. I'm always there helping her with her homework. If she needs to talk, if she wants to do other kinds of things, I'm always there for her. I feel like I have a very close relationship with her.
Now, do you believe that Sarah would be better off in your custody than in your husband's custody?
I think she'd be better off living with me.
And please tell the judge why you believe that.
Well, because I'm always there for her. I have a close relationship with her. I take her to get her clothes. I take care of her when she's sick. We have a good relationship, and I have an educational background, so I know about her developmental stages, and I can help her grow up.
Now, Ms. Richards, if you're awarded custody of Sarah, would you encourage a strong relationship between Sarah and her father?
Yes, I most definitely would.
Your Honor, I have no further questions of this witness.
Very well. Mr. Brown, you may cross-examine.
Now, Ms. Richards, you're employed as a teacher, is that correct?
Yes.
You have rigid hours?
Yes, that's right.
You leave early in the morning, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Before Sarah leaves for school?
Yes, a few minutes before.
Well, 45 minutes to be exact, is that right?
Actually, it's 30 minutes.
Now, in bad weather, you're not around to take Sarah to school, are you?
That's right.
But your husband is around, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And in bad weather, he would drive Sarah to school.
Yes.
His hours are flexible, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And he can adjust his hours to Sarah's schedule, whatever she needs, is that right?
More or less, but yes, that's correct.
Okay. So do you want the court to believe that if Sarah's sick, you can just take time off work and be home with her? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
And that does not impair your job security in any way?
No, it does not affect that at all.
Now, you've previously testified that you have a drinking problem. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. There's been no showing of a problem.
Objection is sustained. The reporter shall strike the word problem. May continue to answer, however, Ms. Richards.
Yes.
And it did affect your home life?
Yes, it did.
Now, Sarah was aware of this drinking problem, correct? Or this drinking history?
I can't say for sure, but I doubt that she knew about my drinking.
Well, isn't it true that at Sarah's birthday party you started drinking and became intoxicated and called all the children's parents to pick up the children from the birthday party?
I don't recall that.
You don't?
No, I do not.
Isn't it true that you've had problems controlling your emotions when you've been drinking?
Yes.
And now you want the court to believe that all of a sudden, a year ago, you just stopped drinking?
Yes.
I have no further questions at this time.
Very well. Any other witnesses? Mr. Smith?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I would call Dr. Marshall as the next witness.
All right, you may step down. Dr. Marshall, come forward, please.